Innovative waste disposal, beautiful music, the devastating socioeconomic impacts of a constant state of religious flux because one really rich and powerful guy had a crush and decided the peasants could deal with the aftermath. Horses! What isn't there to love about 16th and 17th century England? An explosion of art, literature, and a little bit of science, the Elizabethan era certainly did happen, and it's a jolly time for the whole family. Stroll through the bustling streets of London, bask in an authentic theater experience, fleas and all, or maybe play a nice game of kick that severed pig bladder, modernly known as soccer. Well, there is a slight difficulty of traversing time and space to get there, isn't there? But do I have news for you? We've got you covered here at Invincible Time Machinations Inc., where positive thinking is paramount. With just a waiver and some very affordable fees, you can be well on your way to traipsing about the early modern English countryside. By signing this legally binding contract anytime between 2024 and 2153, marking the rise of the override superintelligence and therefore the end of law and order as we know it, you hereby voluntarily revoke your right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Invincible Time Machinations Inc. is not liable for limb injuries, organ injuries, psychological damages, philosophical damages, ego injury, nor intestine reorganization via patented matter discombobulator or sword, knife, spear, lance, intestine reorganizer, etc. You automatically consent to the dissolution of your assets in case of your irrevocable eradication from existence, and you agree to take all responsibility for any paradox caused whilst engaging in time travel. Side effects of time travel can include, but are not limited to, death, pregnancy, plague, future plague, death, dysentery, and death. And most of all, make sure to pay the very light fees up front, just in case of total disembodiment. You do want to meet Shakespeare, don't you? Close your eyes and imagine it now. The lights, the uninvented cameras, the action, the glory of the Globe Theatre where Shakespeare first put on his plays, a gorgeous stage of colorful columns and creative wonder. Feel the energy of the crowd, the excitement, the shock, the sadness. Revel in the golden age of theater. Maybe catch a glimpse or even get a chance to talk to the man himself. Invincible Time Machinations Inc. can provide all this and more. Go on, sign the line. I promise you, you won't regret it. Ah, yes, very good. Steve, one actually did it. Now, let's discuss the specifics of your very literal and very painful blast to the past. Seriously, helmets recommended. Speaking of recommended, bring lots and lots of antibiotics. If you have to rob a pharmacy, do so. Invincible Time Machinations Inc., of course, does not and would never endorse any such activities. Seriously though, there is one just down the street. The Black Plague is just beginning to wean off its second, plague, and you seriously would not want to catch it, or anything else for that matter, because hygiene just hasn't been invented yet. Bring an umbrella. That is not recommended, that is required given the aforementioned waste situation. Heels are recommended, however, and maybe don't wear anything too long. Oh right, yes, clothing. To sum it up, frills, lots of them, an abundance of frills. If you aren't frilly, you aren't 16th century English. Simple, majorly single-piece garments and those weird cap things are so last century. Finally, I recommend bringing your own drinking water, or at the very least, that you boil anything. I'm very sorry that this list is less mythical and rather practical, but you've signed the waiver now, and probably sold one of your kidneys, so the only turning back is that of the clock. So, what to do while you're there? Well, there's a myriad of things. For one, you can try and experience the lives of your probably ancestors, because the British did do a lot of very bad things and consequently have a lot of blood everywhere, both literal and figurative. But they haven't quite done most of it yet at this point in history, just the other bad things. Eat some Tudor bread, visit a public execution, any of them, because there's a lot given this is roughly the peak of that whole ritual. Race a horse, try jousting, and of course, there's Shakespeare, obviously, one of the most famous and talented writers of all time. And thankfully you're going straight into his time. You can watch Julius Caesar or Romeo and Juliet on their opening days, or you could go farther and see his first ever play. If you're a fan of Ren fairs, you'll either have the time of your life or be very disappointed at the lack of magic. Frankly, the only magic here is the fact that any of these people retain the will to live. I would not last without internet. But there are horses and Shakespeare. Let's be honest, you probably only care about the Shakespeare. Typical 21st centurion. You look at a whole time period and go, look, a guy wrote something and the queen killed some people. When in reality, millions across the globe lived and died, loved and were loved, harbored the same questions as you. Why do I exist? What's really out there? How am I ever going to pay my rent? It sort of serves as a reminder that no matter how ridiculously or unbearably pressing and overwhelming day-to-day events seem, they most likely won't even be remembered in the grand scheme of things. Shadows of memory. I don't know if it's sad that my life happenings will probably be diminished to an unnamed person who just lived during this era where some stuff occurred, or if I'm happy that the era I live in will pass in what is ultimately a quiet manner. Am I terrified of being forgotten? Yes, and apparently we all are, because we keep spinning the cosmic wheel of chance and we keep on losing. Then we decide to engrave it permanently and is what essentially the equivalent of the human corkboard. because I guess screw privacy and the comfort of being forgotten, the comfort that every action won't be recorded for the span of humanity's continued existence, and sure, why don't we have a global pandemic? And come on, let's throw artificial intelligence into the mix. Oh, I know what would be grand, extraordinary, and unprecedented political unrest. Isn't this just a jolly good time? You know, maybe this whole time travel thing wouldn't be such a bad idea.